Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing well. It's August 4, 2025. It's early in the morning and I should be asleep, but you know, the criminals are control freaks and they knocked me out 2 times and lost a couple of hours of my evening. But that's their plan because they don't want me to go to sleep before 4 o'clock in the morning because they rev up their engines between 4 and 7 a.m. just so that they can vibrate my body. But anyway, hope everybody's doing well. Thank you everybody for joining in the live stream. And I also have an update on Amy Eskridge. After the live stream, I decided to do a little bit more research on her and search the internet. I wanted to see her legacy.com entry, usually done by her parents or family members. But I came across some really interesting information and I forwarded it to Kevin, who had compiled the information, an article on the video that I created and read his article, Targeted Scientist Amy Eskridge, The Treasure Map They Buried by Kevin Boykin. So I forwarded the information to him and he rewrote another article based upon this update. But before I read his article, I want you to listen to what I found on the internet. Now, for targeted people out there, you're going to understand why this is absolutely a possibility, and it's probably the reason why she's not here anymore. And probably the reason why a lot of targeted people aren't around anymore. Aside from the fact that I truly believe that targeted individuals in particular are rituals, satanic rituals for these Luciferian Satanists. They're getting off on it. And they perform their rituals based upon certain holidays, as they've done with me and many of you guys. So now I found some information on Reddit that she actually wrote herself. And then I found some notes by Michael Shellenberger. And I'm going to read that to you first. And then I'll read her comments on Reddit. A recent entry in the Congressional record by Michael Shellenberger has sparked intense discussions surrounding the death of anti-gravity researcher Amy Eskridge. Allegations have surfaced claiming that Eskridge was murdered by a private aerospace company with connections made to the UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon community. Notably, a retired UK intelligence officer, Franc Milburn, has claimed she was targeted with directed energy weapons. A closer look at the claims of Shellenberger's submission not only highlights Eskridge's contributions to propulsion technology, but raises serious questions about her alleged targeting due to her research. Milburn's assertion suggests that this high-powered interest might have led to lethal consequences. In an alarming quote from the commentary, one commenter stated, quote, "If Amy really was deleted," I'll use the word deleted, "it means we do have that advanced technology." Well, we all know that they do. We've had it for a long time. This sentiment echoes broader suspicions regarding those in control of scientific advancements. Skepticism and disbelief, a misgrieving. While the allegations raised eyebrows, many users on forums expressed skepticism about the evidence. Commenters are divided over Milburn's claims. One pointedly questioned, how could a retired UK intelligence officer know? Sounds like a complete fantasy to me. Many find the allegations difficult to swallow without concrete proof. Well, the concrete proof is she's 34 years old, perfectly healthy, and after I read her Reddit entries, you'll see that she had no intention of taking her life at all. Several comments reflect a want for more transparency regarding directed energy weapons and their use against civilians. The fact that stuff like this gets glossed over is the worst tragedy, lamented one participant. Speculation on Eskridge's mental state. There's also a focus on Eskridge's mental state. Of course, they always got to turn it around to the victim that there's something wrong with them to justify that this happened. Reports indicate she lived in chronic pain, stopped her pain medication, and showed signs of paranoia in her last interview. So, they've got to gaslight her too. Amy's last interview is extremely unnerving. She's clearly drunk, but also gotten deeply paranoid, obsessed, one commenter, hinting at the toll her work and circumstances may have taken on her. Building a narrative of concern. These developments have led to heightened anxiety within the community regarding the possible lengths powerful corporations and entities might go to suppress uncomfortable truths. A prominent user summed it up saying, "If this is true, we need to immediately move all research on the topic to the public domain." And we all know this happens. This targeting program is a revenge program. It's a revenge for somebody that you accidentally pissed off, somebody you dated and broke up with. How many divorced women, divorced a military guy or a cop that then became targeted? How about being targeted by the feral cat cartel because your mission differs from their own? Or the fact that there are just witches out there that like to target people because they get off on it. Some of the key insights here is the skepticism surrounding the allegations of her deleting. Many questions the credibility of the claims. There's growing calls for transparency regarding potential non-lethal weapons and their misuse. And come on, guys, we already know they exist. Not only do we know they exist, the Department of Defense, they like to get all their new weapons and stuff, and then what do they do with the old ones? They raffle them off to the highest bidder. They can go to your local police departments, private contractors, etc., etc. They just play let's make a deal because they need to get rid of them so they can get their new stuff with your tax dollars. Then there were the mental health discussions revealing deep concerns about the pressures faced by researchers. As the dialogue continues, many are left wondering what this could mean for the future of research, transparency in technology, and public trust in powerful institutions. The story of Amy Eskridge is a stark reflection of broader issues entwining scientific exploration and ethical boundaries. And I'm just going to add that if this powerful person, this private aerospace company with connections, who just wanted her out of the picture because she was going to be receiving some grants that he might not be receiving in the future. What do you think happened to Michaela Raines of Save a Fox? Everybody thinks that she took her own life. Well, maybe it was a directed energy weapon. Right? Maybe it was. We can't rule that out. So now let's go on to the next claim here. One second. This is on Reddit. These messages were allegedly sent to a Twitter user from Amy Eskridge a month before her death. I'm sharing them to raise awareness. and see if anyone can confirm any of the details within the messages and for general discussion. Some of the points that jumped out were, she discovered that her dental records have been tampered with, listing her employer as an Israeli technology company she'd never heard of. She describes receiving creepy anonymous messages encouraging her to harm herself. She believed she was being targeted by sophisticated espionage tactics, including social engineering and direct harassment. She had been in contact with a former CIA agent who advised her to guard her technical notebooks closely, suggesting there might be a significant budget behind the attempts to steal her work. And what better way to steal her work than deleting her? The social engineering attempts in public are through the damn roof at the moment. It's almost absurd. A group of anywhere between 2 to 6 people will walk into a location, usually about 30 minutes after I sit down, she says. Then the whole group will take turns, one at a time, rotating through the empty seat next to me, repeatedly asking me the same questions over and over again. I deflect one. Then the next one sits down. They even all use the same opening line between them, as if they're all reading the same briefing materials. Does that sound like a skit show? So, let me see here. There's a little bit more here. I just have to open it up. She insists on not deleting herself. She says, oh, by the way, this is Amy saying this. Oh, by the way, if you see any report that I killed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I overdosed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I killed anyone, I most definitely did not. Just like Bishop most definitely did not kill Maria and Gopi and Adriel. Just like McLandish, sure as F, she says, did not blow his own head off with a shotgun. The dominoes are being lined up all over again. Then she goes on to say, the creepy messages encouraging her to harm herself. She says, there's this new thing that I have been doing. It's the creepiest shit I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot considering what I've seen. It's a shitload of anonymous messages offering advice on how to delete myself. At night, while I'm in bed by myself, phrased as these crazy, creepy rhymes, like, quote unquote, take your pills and overdose and this will go away. Take your pills and overdose and it will be okay. Like, effing creepy nursery rhymes about how to kill myself. This is what happened to Michaela Raines also. Then she goes on to say here, the Israelis, though, holy shit, I personally think that they have been playing both sides between the U.S. and Russia. I recently went to the dentist for my routine cleaning and exam, and the hygienist pulled up my dental insurance information to see how often I had dental x-rays covered. She asked me how I liked my job at some company that I had never heard of. I was like, what? She showed me the information on the computer screen. My dental insurance company had my employer listed as an Israeli technology company at the MAMAT Technology Center in Haifa, Israel? What the F? I do not see how that information could be entered into my records by any type of routine accidental typo. Seems like someone in Israel has been recently requesting my dental records, and they faked an employer address for me in Israel to do it, Jesus, that's absurd. I can only think of a handful of reasons for a foreign nation state or social engineer to social engineer their way into obtaining my dental records, and none of them are good. This happened with my dentist thinking that I was employed at some technology center in Haifa, Israel, and I left. I immediately texted a friend about it. I was like, I have become pretty desensitized to a pretty wide variety of effing absurd espionage BS. However, my dentist having records of me being employed in Israel is just a little too absurd. Even by my standards, I gotta admit, I've seen a whole lot of crazy nation state shit, but I definitely did not see that one coming. This was 3 to 4 weeks ago. I have no clue how long ago that information was added to my records, though. My dental records, having my employer listed as some random company in Israel, did at least trigger me to rewind and think more in depth about other times that spooky Fs have seemingly had access to my detailed diagnostics or other medical records, and I guess I had sort of underestimated how many other examples there were of this, because it's all sort of a weird blur of pretty extreme, crazy shit over the last few years. But in retrospect, it has happened a few times now. It was, in fact, what eventually led to our work being published as a NASA technical memorandum last year. We wrote and published that paper basically as a direct result of this guy quoting to my face a bunch of obscure shit about my own life, including accurate notes from my spinal MRIs, and then telling me that we could publish it within 6 months or lose it. That was actually how that paper got published. Why are there now multiple data points for Israel being all up in my medical records? Even down to my dentist. What the F? I don't even know anymore, and I kind of hate it. The public approaches, though, oh my God. It's just totally crazy shit. I swear to God, like, I should maybe just retire from science altogether and just start writing spy thriller novels about my real experiences. Then she goes on to say one more time, oh, by the way, if you see any report that I killed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I overdosed myself, I most definitely did not. If you see any report that I killed anyone else, I most definitely did not. Okay? So now she sent that on May 13. I guess that was 2022, because she passed June 11, 2022. So it's literally a month before her being deleted. Okay? So at age 34. So now let's go back to Kevin rewriting the he rewrote an article here. Okay, he says, after reading these sources and reviewing the video you posted, as well as seeing that there's more factually based article, it should be written after my last attempt, so I decided to write another. This time, factually based from those 3 sources. Amy reminds me of me. I've never experienced that before. That's why I got all sentimental over her. Here's the new article. It's entitled Amy Eskridge, A Factual Record of Targeting, Suppression, and Death. And this is for educational purposes only. I'm reading an article on the facts of the passing of a research scientist named Amy Eskridge. This is an article by Kevin Boykin, August 3rd, 2025. A report based on public testimony, primary documents, and confirmed witness accounts. And when somebody tells you that they would never take their own life, believe them. Because all this garbage that's being posted in the newspaper and the internet, these are paid for hire targeting with people with big money want to get rid of competition, or just because they don't like you. They hate you. Or let's say maybe a famous nonprofit, because the money's not coming out of their pockets. People are donating money so that these nonprofits can just get rid of people that they don't like, or a competition. This article endeavors to present a factual record of the criminal targeting and eventual death of Amy Eskridge, a scientist and entrepreneur whose work on advanced technologies placed her at the intersection of innovation, secrecy, and threat. The goal of this report is to not offer speculation, assign blame, or dramatize. It is to document what is known based on credible testimony, primary source messages, and corroborating evidence. In 2024, journalist Michael Shellenberger testified before Congress that Eskridge was one of several scientists who were targeted, quote unquote, suppressed, and in some cases killed, as part of a covert campaign against disruptive innovation. Yeah, competition. They want to get rid of the competition. His statement delivered before the U.S. House Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government officially entered Eskridge's name into the public record under allegations of systemic harassment and silencing. The report draws from Shellenberger's congressional disclosures, a series of direct messages allegedly sent by Eskridge in the final year of her life, testimony from defense analyst Franc Milburn, who personally knew Eskridge and documented her claims, video testimony published by Lorraine, me, from the Havana Syndrome TI community, if that's what you want to call it, including verified audio from Eskridge. The cumulative effect is clear. Eskridge described experience and attempted to survive a sustained campaign of surveillance, physical harm, psychological manipulation, and technological sabotage. Her case is neither isolated nor speculative, and this article makes no arguments beyond the evidence now available in the public domain. What follows is a structured and sober record of her final months, focusing on verifiable facts and supported claims. Where uncertainties exist, they are labeled as such. Where implications arise, they are made explicit. The intention is not to provoke outrage, but to preserve a reliable account for those who may one day investigate further. And I hope that there will be further investigation. Background. Who was Amy Eskridge? Amy Eskridge was the founder of the Institute for Exotic Science, later renamed the Gravity Research Institute. Her work focused on emerging and unconventional technologies, including anti-gravity and propulsion systems. According to numerous accounts, including her own messages and video interviews, Eskridge sought to advance scientific research outside the traditional academic and military frameworks. She positioned her institute as a hub for quote-unquote disruptive innovation, one that would enable independent researchers to pursue bold ideas without institutional suppression. This ambition attracted collaborators, former military scientists, and ex-intelligence officials, but according to Eskridge, it also attracted unwanted attention. Early warning signs and escalation. According to Eskridge's own accounts and those of close confidants, the targeting began subtly. Break-ins occurred where nothing was stolen but items were moved. People she didn't know referenced her personal details. Some individuals posed as interested researchers or investors, only to probe for information about her work. Eventually, she began experiencing direct physical symptoms she believed were related to electronic harassment, including seizures triggered when attempting to write about sensitive topics. One of her more notable claims involved what she described as a pattern. The attacks worsened whenever she was working on something intellectually important or time-sensitive. These episodes, including pain, disorientation, and neurological symptoms, sometimes following known symptoms or directed energy weapon exposure. This pattern has since been echoed by other professionals and researchers facing similar claims. 3. Private messages and testimony. A series of private messages allegedly written by Eskridge and shared posthumously reinforced her belief that she was being deliberately targeted to suppress her research. In one of them, she states, "Giving a CIA agent a headache in a hotel is kind of like, why is this even worth the effort? Why would you expose your capabilities just to do that? But targeting a scientist and giving them a damn seizure every time they sit down to type about a certain topic, now that will impede progress on that topic pretty effectively." Unquote. She repeatedly references seizures, migraines, and attacks coinciding with her deadlines and research milestones. That's complete sabotage. The role of intelligence sources. Franc Milburn, a defense analyst and former military intelligence officer, testified in a public interview that he knew Eskridge personally and I had reviewed her private notebooks. He reported that high-level sources, including ex-CIA and Air Force contacts, acknowledged the plausibility of her claims. According to Milburn, one of these sources cautioned Eskridge to protect her notebooks and warned that her work was, quote, well worth the budget for the right entity, unquote. Another noted that the tactics used to target her were consistent with private contractor activity, not foreign state actors. Do you hear that? Private contractor activity, not foreign state actors. Milburn and his sources eventually concluded that the most likely culprits were domestic contractors with ties to intelligence or defense industry clients. Number 5, institutional failure. Despite attempts to report the abuse, Eskridge received no meaningful help. After connecting with someone from the intelligence community, she was referred to the FBI. Initially, the agency expressed interest, but within weeks, she was told they had no jurisdiction, quote unquote. This echoes a pattern seen in other cases: plausible deniability, bureaucratic paralysis, and jurisdictional deflection. Eskridge was left with no recourse despite having verifiable connections, evidence, and testimony. Meanwhile, the harassment reportedly intensified. 6. Death and legacy. Amy Eskridge died in 2022 under circumstances not officially ruled as suspicious, but widely questioned in light of her public and private disclosures. Though her name remained obscure to the public at the time, her case has since emerged as emblematic of the broader pattern of suppression against scientists working on sensitive technologies. In 2024, Shellenberger's congressional testimony introduced her name into the public record alongside a list of others who were allegedly targeted, silenced, or killed. Whether or not Eskridge's work would have yielded viable anti-gravity technology is ultimately besides the point. What matters is that her efforts were deemed threatening enough to warrant surveillance, interference, and silencing. That she predicted this outcome and left a clear trail of testimony makes her case impossible to ignore. 7. Concluding notes and citation appendix. Amy Eskridge's story is increasingly difficult to dismiss. Her experience has been corroborated not only by trusted individuals in the intelligence and defense sectors, but by government testimony, congressional records, and her own written and spoken words. Rather than treat her claims as speculative, this article has focused solely on what can be publicly verified. It avoids dramatization, but the implications remain dramatic nonetheless. Eskridge, a young scientist working on advanced technologies, was targeted in a manner consistent with historic black programs, intelligence overreach, and scientific suppression. Her death followed shortly thereafter. While speculation may swirl about motives, technologies, and perpetrators, the central facts are now a matter of public record. If nothing else, this report stands as a marker in time, a record that she was targeted, she was vocal, and was dismissed until too late. Source attribution and appendix. This article draws from and is indebted to the following primary sources. Michael Shellenberger's testimony before the U.S. House Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government 2024. Video interviews and commentary archived by Odogwu Medico Ltd. And later shared by Lorraine of the Havana Syndrome TI community. Published private messages allegedly from Eskridge by Franc Milburn, a former defense analyst and personal acquaintance of Eskridge. Verbatim transcripts and video commentary published by Lorraine, containing direct audio from Eskridge. A special note of thanks to Lorraine and Odogwu Medico Ltd., who preserved and made public much of this material. Franc Milburn, through whom the private messages first surfaced online. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for this updated article on Amy. It's much appreciated, and it's so deeply disturbing to read that allegedly that allegations surfaced that Eskridge was deleted, he was murdered by a private aerospace company with connections made to the UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena community, notably a retired UK intelligence officer. I'm not going to say the name because it's allegedly. And again, this is for informational, research, educational purposes only. And this was taken from the notes of Michael Shellenberger. Claims she was targeted with directed energy weapons. So anyway, with that information, knowing that she was 34 years old, knowing that she publicly asserted that she would never take her own life, she would never take the life of somebody else, it's clearly time that more research goes to investigate her passing. And I went to legacy.com. And I want to show you here. So here's Amy. She was born in 1987. It doesn't give her birth date. I need to find her birth date. Here she is. And ironically, since Information about her passing has become public. More people are going to her obituary online and posting to the memorial. She passed in 2022, and here you have people commenting in 2025. If anybody would like to leave a note on her behalf, it's on legacy.com /US/obituaries /legacy remembers /Amy Eskridge -obituary. And I can post the link in the description section. Hopefully YouTube will not object to that. And FYI, I'll read a little bit of it because there seems to be a lot of stuff going on in Alabama. Like, how about research chemist Jessica Thomason, PhD, also in Alabama. And how about Eden's Living TV, also in Alabama. Lots of stuff going on in Alabama, and it's not all good. The brilliant mind left us when Amy Catherine Eskridge went to her eternal rest in the Lord on Saturday, June 11, 2022, at just age 34. Amy already had a beautiful vision for life and the cosmos. She had a genius for science and questioned the conventional wisdom on everything from the universe to the nanoparticles of the atom. She was also an astute entrepreneur as chairwoman and president of the Institute for Exotic Science in Huntsville, Alabama, which she co-founded. Amy's passion for space grew from childhood in the Rocket City. After her graduation from UAH with a double major in chemistry and biology, she became an interdisciplinarian and a master of electrical engineering, chemistry, physics, genetic engineering, and nanotechnology. I won't go into all the friends and family members here. The family held a celebration in her memory of her life on July 10th. And people are still posting in her memory in 2025. Thank you so much, Kevin, for revising or creating another article on her behalf. And yes, we should keep this. We should keep it going. There should be an investigation into her death. It's not suspicious. It's not a suicide. Somebody placed a hit on her life, and it should be investigated, just like many of us have a hit on our lives because of envious, jealous people. And this should not be permitted in the society. So anyway, this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading, signing off for now. Leave a question or a comment down below, and please share this. This is clearly a case that needs to be reopened and investigated for what it is. This is a direct hit on this woman. She clearly states she would never take her own life. And I believe her. Just like Kim Straub and so many other people, including my own self, I would never take my own life. I'll say it out loud again. I'll put it in writing. I would never take my own life. And many of you will say the same thing. And it won't be investigated. Why? Oh, in the name of national security. And you know what? Once you get on the list, you never get off the list. Just saying.